Okay. Assalamu alaikum, students. We are going to start with endocrinology, and I am going to do the lectures on thyroid. Okay. So, actually, we have already started endocrinology. Professor Tahir has given you the account of diabetes mellitus. So, I'm going to do thyroid. Rest of the endocrine is going to be done by him. So, as all of you know, thyroid is is located below and interior to the larynx, and it consists of two bilateral lobes connected with isthmus. Thyroid is divided by fibrous tissue septa into lobules, and each lobule is composed of 20 to 40 follicles. These follicles are lined by simple cuboidal epithelium and filled with thyroglobulin, or they are filled with thyroglobulin inside the follicles. Thyroid follicular epithelial cells convert thyroglobulin into thyroxine, which is T4, and triiodothyronine, which is T3. Hadia Imtiaz, would you want to say anything? You can write in your inbox, okay? So as I've said, it is a gland which is present in your neck and located below and interior to the larynx, consists of two lobes and which are joined by isthmus. The follicular epithelium is cuboidal and the follicles contain thyroglobulin in them, which produce T3 and T4. T3 and T4 are released into the circulation. These are bound to circulation. These are bound to circulating thyroxine binding globulin and transthyretin. Thyroid hormone has diverse cellular effects, including stimulation of carbohydrate, lipid metabolism, and protein synthesis in many cells. Functions of thyroid gland are inhibited by goitrogens. Goitrogens are substances which are present in your diet, which leads to decrease in the thyroid hormones. Parafollicular C cells are also present in the thyroid follicles, and they produce Okay. 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 So, sorry, there is some interruption. We are going to start again. यही वाला।
साइड में उठो, तुम देख के चल नहीं सकती। अन्य की तरह चल तुम मेरे ਵਿੱਚ ਐ ਆਲੇ ਕੌਣ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ स्टूडेंट मैं कैसे करूं
Chale. Okay, I have told you about the normal histology of the thyroid. Now I'm going to do the clinical manifestation of thyroid disease, how the thyroid diseases are going to be manifested by clinically. It can present as hyperthyroidism, that is increased functioning in the thyroid gland, hypothyroidism, that is decreased functioning in the thyroid gland, enlargement of the thyroid gland, which is called goiter. When the thyroid hormones are normal, so patient is called in a euthyroid stage. Neoplastic lesion of the thyroid gland. Okay, so this can present, a thyroid lesion can present as hyperthyroidism, increased hormone production, hypothyroidism, decreased hormone production, enlargement of the thyroid gland, which is known as goiter, neoplastic lesion of the thyroid gland. I'm going to deal with one by one lesion in my lectures, okay? So first I'm going to tell you about the thyroid function test. Thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH, is produced in the pituitary gland, and it regulates the balance of thyroid hormone, including T4 and T3 in the bloodstream. So thyroid stimulating hormone is produced by the anterior pituitary, and it regulates the blood circulation of T4 and T3. This is usually the first test we do to check for the thyroid hormone imbalance. Most of the time, thyroid hormone deficiency, that is hypothyroidism, it is associated with elevated thyroid stimulating hormone levels, while thyroid hormone excess hyperthyroidism is associated with a low TSH level. So it is an inverse proportion. If the gland is producing less T3 and T4, TSH level is going to be high. And if gland is producing normal level of T4 and T3 and T4, then TSH level should be normal. But if there is hyperthyroidism and T3, T4 levels are high, then thyroid stimulating hormone level is going to be low. Okay, I hope it is clear. In hypothyroidism, TSH level is going to be high, and in hyperthyroidism, TSH level is going to be low. If TSH is abnormal, measurement of the thyroid hormone directly, including thyroxine T4 and triiodine T3, are done to further evaluate the thyroid condition. Normal test ranges for an adult is 0.40 to 4.50 mil units per milliliter of blood. Milli international units per milliliter of blood. This is the normal level of thyroid hormone. Okay. So if TSH level is going to be abnormal, then we are also going to estimate T3 and T4 levels. The normal value of these thyroid stimulating hormone in the serum is 0.40 to 4.50 milli international units per liter of the blood. Okay. Next hormone which we are going to do is T4 triiodothyroxine. Thyroxine test for hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism as well, and used to monitor treatment of thyroid disorders. Low T4 level is seen with hypothyroidism, whereas high T4 levels are seen in hyperthyroidism. Normal range for an adult is 4.6 to 12 microgram per deciliter of the blood. So first hormone we are going to estimate is thyroid stimulating hormone, in which we are going to see if it is normal, then patient is supposed to be in a euthyroid state. Euthyroid state means that both the hormone levels are normal. If the patient's TSH is low, patient is suffering from hyperthyroidism. If TSH is elevated, then patient is suffering from hypothyroidism. I hope it is clear. So next is T4 thyroxine level. It is done in the serum. Low T4 is seen in hypothyroidism and high T4 is seen in hyperthyroidism. The normal level is 4.6 to 12 micrograms per deciliter of the blood. Another T4 we estimate in the blood serum is free T4 or free thyroxine. It is a method of measuring T4 that eliminates the effect of proteins that naturally bind the T4 in the serum. Normal test range for an adult is 0.7 to 1.9 nanogram per deciliter of the blood. Normal T4 level is 0.7 to 1.9 nanogram per deciliter of the blood. Next is the estimation of T3 or triiodothyronine test. It helps to diagnose hyperthyroidism or to show the severity of hyperthyroidism. Low T3 levels can be observed in hypothyroidism, but more often this test is useful in the diagnosis and management of hyperthyroidism, where T3 levels are elevated. Normal T3 level in the blood is 80 to 180 nanogram per deciliter of the blood. Next is the free T3 or free triiodothyronine. It is a method of measuring T3 that eliminates the effect of proteins that naturally bind T3 and may prevent accurate measurements. Normal range of free T3 is 240 to 480 picogram per milliliter of the blood. These hormone levels, which I'm telling you, the normal values can be your Viva question as well. Okay. Next, thyroid function test, we can do thyroid antibodies. Thyroid antibodies, these tests help identify different types of autoimmune thyroid conditions. Because in thyroid condition, I'm going to tell you, there are autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's thyroiditis and Graves' disease. They are both the part of autoimmune disorders of the thyroid gland. So the antibodies which we estimate are microsomal antibodies, which are also known as thyroid peroxidase antibodies or TPO antibodies. Other antibodies are thyroglobulin antibodies, also known as TG antibodies. Thyroid receptor antibodies include thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, TSI, and thyroid blocking immunoglobulin, which are TBI. So we have microsomal antibodies, which are known as thyroid peroxidase antibody, thyroglobulin antibodies, which are also known as TG antibodies, thyroid receptor antibodies, which are TSI, thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins, and thyroid blocking immunoglobulins, which is TBI. Next is the estimation of calcitonin. This test is used to diagnose C-cell hyperplasia and medullary carcinoma, in which calcitonin level is going to be high. Thyroglobulin level. This test is used to diagnose thyroiditis, thyroid inflammation, and to monitor treatment of thyroid cancers. So if you see this table, we can estimate thyroxine, free thyroxine in the serum, free thyroxine or free T4, triiodothyronine or free triiodothyronine, serum thyroglobulin TB, and thyrotropin serum or thyroid stimulating hormone. These are the abbreviations. T4 normal value is 4.6 to 12 microgram. Free T4 is 0.7 to 1.9 nanogram. T3 is 80 to 180 nanogram. Free T3 is 240 to 480 picogram per ml. Thyroglobulin is 0 to 30 nanogram, and thyroid stimulating hormone is 0.5 to 6 micro units per ml of the serum. Okay, these are the normal thyroid function tests. This table shows you in hyperthyroid, T4 is increased, T3 uptake is increased, radioactive iodine is increased, free thyroxine is increased, but thyroid stimulating hormone is decreased. And most important of this is Graves' disease. I'm going to describe Graves' disease in detail. High thyroid binding globulin is increased, decreased T3, normal radioactive iodine uptake, normal free thyroxine, and normal TSH. In hypothyroid, T4 decreased, T3 decreased, radioactive iodine uptake is decreased, free thyroxine is decreased, but TSH is high. Low thyroid binding globulin decreased and increased, but in other cases it is normal. So both these tables can be your Viva questions because they show the normal values of your thyroid hormones, and this show when they are going, these thyroid hormone gets increased and when they are decreased. Okay. So other investigations which beside these hormonal tests, what we are going to do is anti-thyroid antibodies, which I have described. The antibodies are thyroid antibodies are microsomal antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies, and thyroid receptor antibodies. So we can estimate these antibodies in the serum. Nuclear scintigraphy or iodine uptake is done to see the gland. How is it behaving? How the gland is behaving? Either it is increased or decreased uptake of iodine. Then ultrasound of the thyroid gland is also routinely done to see what are the lesions present in the thyroid gland. Next is the fine needle aspiration cytology. FNAC is fine needle aspiration cytology. I've told you in the previous classes as well. But we take out the cells by inserting a needle. This can be done ultrasonographically guided, or it can be blind procedure if the thyroid enlargement is too high. We take out the cell, prepare the smears, and see it under the microscope that what kind of pathology is present in the thyroid. Or FNAC is done on other palpable lesions, as I've told you, in breast lesion, in lymph node lesion, and ultrasound guided FNAC is done for the lesions which are present in the intra-abdominal as well. Histopathology of the thyroid nodule is also done after the excision, and histopathological diagnosis is the gold standard for the diagnosis of the tumors of the thyroid. Okay, so these are the lab investigations which are done in the thyroid disorder. I hope it is clear. I'll repeat it as well. Thyroid stimulating hormone level, T4 level, pre-T4 level, T3 level, pre-T3 level, antibodies, which are microsomal antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies, thyroid receptor antibodies, calcitonin level, thyroglobulin level. This is the chart showing the normal values. This chart shows when the T4, T3 level are going to be increased or decreased. These are the other investigations which one can do to diagnose thyroid lesion. Anti-thyroid antibodies, nuclear scintigraphy or iodine uptake, ultrasound of the thyroid gland, fine needle aspiration cytology, ultrasound guided FNAC, and excision of thyroid nodule for histopathological examination. First, I'm going to describe hyperthyroidism, and then I'll go to the hypothyroidism, and then we are going to deal with one by one conditions which are important from your point of view. Hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is also known as thyrotoxicosis. It is a hypermetabolic state which is caused by increased levels of circulating free thyroxine and triiodothyronine, free T4 and T3. Okay, so whenever hyperthyroidism one is going to say, it means that persons is having a hypermetabolic state in which his T3 and T4 level are going to be high in the serum. Thyroid stimulating hormone is decreased, okay? While T3 and T4 levels are going to be high. It is caused by hyperfunctioning of the thyroid gland. Thyrotoxicosis is caused by hyperfunctioning of thyroid gland. The causes for hyperthyroidism are diffuse hyperplasia of thyroid associated with Graves' disease. Approximately 85% of cases of thyrotoxicosis is because of Graves' disease. I am going to explain Graves' disease later in detail. Hyperfunctional multinodular goiter can also lead to hyperthyroidism sometime, and hyperfunctional thyroid adenoma. This can be present as hot nodules, which can also lead to hyperthyroidism. Whenever you say hyperthyroidism, it means both T3 and T4 levels are going to be high in serum, and TSH level is going to be low. And the causes I have told you is diffuse hyperplasia of thyroid, which is Graves' disease, hyperfunctioning multinodular goiter, or hyperfunctioning thyroid adenoma. Okay. So primary diseases which can lead to hyperthyroidism or thyrotoxicosis are Graves' disease, in which there is diffuse hyperplasia of the gland, hyperfunctioning toxic multinodular goiter, hyperfunctioning toxic adenoma. I'm going to describe these one by one later. Iodine-induced hyperthyroidism, and lot of iodine is given, and patient is producing more of the increased hormone because of increased iodine in the serum. Neonatal thyrotoxicosis is associated with maternal Graves' disease. If mother is suffering from the Graves' disease, a child, when he or she is born, can suffer from thyrotoxicosis because he or she is going to have increased hormones of the T3 and T4 in the serum because of increase in the mother's hormone. Ali Ashraf, you can write in your inbox, or should I mute you? खुद ही mute कर लेते हैं अपने आप को? Okay, I'll mute you in the last 5 minutes, and you can ask me questions, or you can send me your question in the inbox or on the WhatsApp group, okay? Secondary hypothyroidism. The primary lesions of the thyroid will produce thyrotoxicosis. I've just told you all of these. And the secondary lesions are thyroid stimulating TSH secreting pituitary adenoma. If there is a pituitary adenoma and if it's secreting increased level of thyroid stimulating hormone, then T3 and T4 are going to be high. Next is not associated with hypothyroidism, struma ovarii. Struma ovarii is a variant teratoma with ectopic thyroid hormone, which we have already done in your ovaries. Factitious thyrotoxicosis, if a person is getting lot of exogenous thyroxine. Granulomatous or decoherence thyroiditis can lead to hypothyroidism in early stages, but later there is going to be either normal gland functioning, patient is euthyroid, or there is going to be hypothyroidism. In subacute lymphocytic painless thyroiditis, similarly, there will be thyrotoxicosis initially, but later patient becomes euthyroid or go into hypothyroidism. The clinical course in the hypothyroidism is, it is a hypermetabolic state, as I've already said. The patient has going to be increased basal metabolic rate. There is going to be increase in the basal metabolic rate. Cardiac manifestation, the manifestation with patient is going to feel in the patient can feel like tachycardia, palpitations, the size of the heart can be increased, cardiomegaly, atrial fibrillation can also develop because of increased thyroxine level, congestive cardiac failure can develop in these patients as well. So cardiac manifestations are a lot and because of the increase in thyroxine hormone. Tachycardia. Tachycardia is increase in the heart rate. Patient feels there is a lot of palpitation. On examination of the heart, the physician can tell it's going to be a cardiomegaly. Sometimes patient also get atrial fibrillation or develop congestive cardiac failure. Okay. Then overactivity of sympathetic nervous system is also seen. It is seen in the as tremors in the hands, hyperactivity, emotional lability, anxiety, inability to concentrate, insomnia, that is disturbance in sleep pattern. A patient is unable to sleep at night, sweaty palms, proximal muscle weakness, and thyroid myopathy can develop as well. In the gastrointestinal tract, patient can experience diarrhea and malabsorption. Eye changes. Eye changes or ocular changes, these are mostly seen in the Graves' disease. Patient has a wide staring gaze and lid lag because of the sympathetic overstimulation of superior tarsal muscle, which is also known as Muller's muscle. Patient develops a typical staring gaze, okay? Thyroid ophthalmopathy can be associated with proptosis. Proptosis is protrusion of the eyeball. It is mostly seen in Graves' disease. Skeletal system. In the skeletal system, the changes can be osteoporosis with increased risk of fractures. Skeletal atrophy can be seen as well. Osteoporosis is that is bones are going to be demineralized, or osteoporosis changes develop, which are also going to be developed in the case in middle-aged or elderly females when the estrogen levels are low. Similarly, when the thyroid levels are going to be high, osteoporosis develop, and this osteoporosis can lead to skeletal fractures. Thyroid storm. What is thyroid storm? It refers to abrupt onset of severe hypothyroidism. It is seen in people with Graves' disease, and because of elevation of catecholamine levels in infections, surgery, cessation, antithyroid medication, or stress. So what happens is, when a person is hyperthyroid, and in that case, if he or she undergoes surgery or use lead to cessation or antithyroid medication, increased elevation of catecholamines results with exaggeration of all these features of hyperthyroidism, that is called thyroid storm. Okay, so in the hyperthyroidism, we see cardiac changes, changes because of sympathetic nervous system, changes in the eye or ocular changes, skeletal muscle osteoporosis or thyroid storm, as I've told you, when there is increase in the thyroid hormone because of the elevation of catecholamines, which increases in infections or surgeries, and when we do the stoppage of antithyroid medication. Apathetic hyperthyroidism. It refers to thyrotoxicosis, mostly in elderly female, in which the signs and symptoms are taken as of any other condition instead of hyperthyroidism. The diagnosis of thyrotoxicosis in these cases is made in the laboratory investigations because the patient is having unexplained weight loss or worsening of cardiac disease. So these people manifest, but in many ways, and especially in the advanced stage, because of the comorbidities, hypothyroidism features are going to be blunted. But patient is only diagnosed when we do the laboratory investigation and thyroid hormones are going to be high. Okay, so or the patient presents with unexplained weight loss and worsening cardiac disease. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormone measurements is the screening test for hyperthyroidism. TSH is low and T4 is increased in hyperthyroidism. I will said it many times that TSH is going to be low in hyperthyroidism and T4 is going to be increased in hyperthyroidism, and it's vice versa otherwise. Okay, so next is the hypothyroidism. What is hypothyroidism? Hypothyroidism is decreased functioning of the thyroid gland, and in the laboratory, TSH level is going to be high and T4, T3 level are going to be low. Okay. Hypothyroidism is a condition which is caused by structural or functional derangements that interfere with the production of thyroid hormones. All thyroid diseases, sorry, I should have told you earlier, all thyroid diseases are more common in females than men. Even hypothyroidism is more common in females as compared to men. It is 10 times more common in females as compared to men. So hypothyroidism is a condition in which there is going to be decrease in thyroid hormones because of certain structural or functional derangements, most commonly seen in females. Females are 10 times more affected than men. Defects in hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis is also responsible for hypothyroidism. Primary hypothyroidism occurs because of intrinsic cause. When the cause is within the thyroid gland, it is unable to produce most of the thyroid hormone. Okay. Secondary hypothyroidism is as a result of pituitary or hypothalamic disease. Okay. So these are the causes. Okay, sorry, there was an interruption because of the internet. The primary defects, genetic defects in thyroid development, thyroid hormone resistance syndrome, post-ablative means after surgery or after the radioiodine therapy or external radiation. Autoimmune hypothyroiditis is Hashimoto's. Iodine deficiency can lead to hypothyroidism. Drugs, which are lithium iodides and aminosalicylic acid, or congenital synthetic defects. These all conditions can lead to hypothyroidism or decreased function of the thyroid gland. Secondary hypothyroidism is because of pituitary failure or hypothalamic failure, or both these conditions are rare. while these conditions are more commonly seen. Okay. So what happens in hypothyroidism? Another form of hypothyroidism is congenital hypothyroidism because of endemic deficiency of iodine in the diet. Okay. Autoimmune hypothyroidism is also called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It can occur alone or in combination with autoimmune polyendocrinal syndrome. Okay, Hashimoto's I'm going to describe later. Iatrogenic hypothyroidism can occur because of surgical removal of thyroid or radiation-induced thyroid ablation, or sometimes radioactive iodine is given to do the ablation of thyroid gland. So as I told you, the causes of hypothyroidism can be genetic because of resistance in the hormone synthesis, because of post-ablative, autoimmune, iodine deficiency, drugs, congenital synthetic disorders. Secondary are pituitary failure and hypothalamic failure. So congenital hypothyroidism because of endemic deficiency of iodine, autoimmune seen in Hashimoto's, iatrogenic when it is removed in surgery or radiation-induced removal. Cretinism. Cretinism is seen mostly in the early childhood. It refers to hypothyroidism which occurs in infancy or early childhood. Cretinism is very important to treat because it's a simple replacement of thyroid gland which is going to lead to proper development of the child. Otherwise, if the child is cretin and is not diagnosed, the clinical features are going to be severe mental retardation, short stature, coarse facial features, protruding tongue, umbilical hernia. Okay, so cretinism is a condition in which hypothyroidism is present in the children of early childhood. It has to be diagnosed in the early childhood, otherwise it can lead to severe developmental deficiencies in children, which can be seen in form of severe mental retardation, short stature when the height is going to be short, the coarse facial features, they are going to be large coarse features of the face. The tongue is going to be protruding and sometimes the umbilical hernia is seen as well. Okay, so cretinism is very important to be treated in early childhood. Myxedema. Myxedema is hypothyroidism developing in older child or adult. If patient is going to have decreased level of thyroid hormone, it is hypothyroidism and the condition is called myxedema. Like we were calling hyperthyroidism as thyrotoxicosis, hypothyroidism is called myxedema. The clinical features of myxedema are generalized fatigue, apathy, mental sluggishness. Patient feels that generalized he or she is going to be tired, there is mental sluggishness, and other features which are going to be seen are speech and intellectual functions are going to be slowed. Patients are listless, cold, intolerant, and overweight. Skin is cool and pale because of the less blood flow. Shortness of breath and decreased exercise capacity is seen in the patients with myxedema. Non-pitting edema is seen because of the deposition of glycosaminoglycans and hyaluronic acid in the skin and subcutaneous tissue. So whenever thyroid hormones are going to be low, patient is suffering from hypothyroidism, patient can develop myxedema. In the myxedema, there is generalized fatigue, apathy, mental sluggishness, speech and intellectual functions are going to be decreased. Patients are listless and cold, and they are overweight. Skin is cool and pale because of the less blood flow. Shortness of breath and decreased tolerance to exercise is present. Non-pitting edema is present because of deposition of glycosaminoglycans and hyaluronic acid in the skin or in the subcutaneous tissue. Okay. Okay, so I have dealt with you the thyroid function test in detail and what is hyperthyroidism and what is hypothyroidism. I hope these are clear. If there is anything, any question, you can ask me later or you can ask me in the WhatsApp group or you can just message me right now in the inbox. Now we are going to start with the thyroiditis. Thyroiditis is called inflammation of the thyroid gland. There are three types of thyroiditis and a fourth type as well, which is known as Riedel's thyroiditis, which I'm not going to do in detail. But the more important from your point of view is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune thyroiditis, subacute lymphocytic painless thyroiditis, and number three is granulomatous thyroiditis, which is also known as de Quervain's thyroiditis. And the fourth is known as Riedel's thyroiditis, which I have not written here, but I'm going to explain one by one, okay? So Hashimoto's thyroiditis. What is Hashimoto's thyroiditis? It is an autoimmune disorder of the thyroid gland in which thyroid follicles are going to be destroyed, leading to gradual and progressive thyroid failure. So Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune condition or autoimmune disease that results in the destruction of the thyroid gland, which leads to gradual and progressive thyroid failure. And in these patients, we have to give them thyroxine for their lifetime, okay? The history of the Hashimoto's thyroiditis is like this. It was reported in 1912 by Hashimoto. He described patients with large thyroid glands with intense lymphocytic infiltration of thyroid, and he named this condition as struma lymphomatosa. Struma is the old name for the thyroid gland. Okay, struma viri, as I've told you, presence of thyroid tissue in the ovaries in case of teratoma. I hope you remember that. So struma lymphomatosa was the name given to Hashimoto's thyroiditis by Hashimoto in 1912. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is mostly seen in women between the ages of 35 to 65. Female to male ratio is 10:1 or 20:1. So you can see thyroid diseases are more common in females as compared to men. And sometimes it is seen in children and is a major cause of non-endemic goiter in pediatric population. So I'm going to do non-endemic and endemic goiters when we are going to do goiters, okay? So I hope Hashimoto's thyroiditis is clear. It is a condition when there is going to be destruction of thyroid follicle because of the autoimmune mechanism. We see autoantibodies in the serum of these patients, and this Hashimoto thyroiditis is described by Hashimoto in 1912 when he saw large thyroid glands of females having lymphocytic infiltrate as well. It is a disease of female between the ages of 35 to 65 with a male-female ratio of 10:1 or 20:1. Sometimes it is seen in children as a part of non-endemic goiter as well. Pathogenesis. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is caused by breakdown in the self-tolerance by thyroid autoantigens. You have done immunity in your third year. You know what is central tolerance and what is peripheral tolerance, okay? So if there is a breakdown in self-tolerance by thyroid autoantigens, so circulating autoantibodies are seen against these thyroid antigens which are present in the serum of many patients of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So circulating autoantibodies are present in the serum of against thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase in many patients of thyroiditis, okay? Hashimoto's thyroiditis is a strong genetic component. Polymorphism in immune regulation genes are seen. Polymorphism is seen in the CTLA4 gene and PTPN22 gene. Cytotoxic T lymphocyte associated antigen 4 and protein tyrosine phosphatase 22 antigen. In both these immune regulation genes, polymorphism is seen, which can lead to Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And these people who develop Hashimoto's thyroiditis, they are also susceptible for the development of other autoimmune disorders. So the pathogenesis, I hope it is clear, it is an autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune means when the body is going to produce antibodies against the self-antigen. So in case of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, autoantibodies are produced against the thyroid antigen, against the thyroglobulin, against the thyroid peroxidase antigen in many patients of thyroiditis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's has a genetic component as well. So those people who are suffering from Hashimoto's thyroiditis, they have a family history of Hashimoto's thyroiditis in them, and there can be gene defects in the CTLA4 gene and PTPN22 gene, which are immune regulating gene as well. And these Hashimoto's people are also at the risk of developing or other autoimmune disorders like systemic lupus erythematosus as well. Okay. So there is going to be progressive destruction of thyroid parenchyma by these autoantibodies. The immunological mechanism which are going to lead to destruction of the thyroid parenchyma are of three types. CD8, cytotoxic T cell mediated cell death, cytotoxic mediated cell death, and antigen antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. You have done this in detail in your third year, so I'm just going to explain it very shortly. Immunological mechanisms are like CD8 cells, they are going to directly destroy the thyroid follicular cell. And then cytotoxic mediated cell death, in this case, CD4 lymphocyte produce cytokines or interferon gamma, which is a cytokine, and this is going to recruit macrophages, and these macrophages are going to be activated, which are going to damage the follicular epithelial cells of the thyroid. And number 3 is when the antibodies are bound to the thyroid globulin antigen or antithyroid peroxidase antibody, there is going to be antigen-antibody reaction, and this will lead to disruption of thyroid parenchyma. So it is an autoimmune disorder, as I've said earlier. Thyroid autoantibodies are circulating in the serum, and it has genetic basis. And the mechanism by which thyroid follicles are going to be destroyed are 3. Number 1, CD8 lymphocytes are going to destroy the thyroid follicular cell on their own. And number 2, CD4 cells, they are going to produce gamma interferon, which will recruit macrophages, and activated macrophages will destroy the thyroid follicular cell. And number 3, antigen-antibody reaction, which is because of the autoantibodies, they are going to bind to the antigens and they will destroy the thyroid follicular cell. When thyroid follicular cells are going to be destroyed, obviously T3 and T4 are not going to be produced, and patient is going to go into hypothyroidism. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention is heshitoxicosis, which I think I have written somewhere else, but I'll tell you here what is heshitoxicosis. Heshitoxicosis is seen in early stages of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in which increased thyroid hormone are going to storm into the circulation when thyroid parenchyma is going to be destroyed, and first patient presents with increase or hyperthyroidism, and later there is going to be hypothyroidism. Okay. So I will explain heshitoxicosis again as well. So morphologically, morphology means gross and microscopic appearance. On gross appearance, the gland is going to be diffusely enlarged, or it can be enlarged locally. Means only one small nodule can be seen, or a diffuse enlargement of the gland is seen. Depends at what state the patient is going to be diagnosed. The capsule of the gland is going to be intact, and it is going to be well demarcated from the surrounding structure, meaning that you can easily on gross examination see that it's not is a malignant condition. On the cut section, the gland appears pale yellow or tan in color, and it is firm and nodular. Microscopically, there is extensive infiltration of thyroid parenchyma by mononuclear inflammatory infiltrate, which is mostly composed of lymphocytes, plasma cells with formation of germinal centers. The thyroid follicular epithelium cells show atrophy, and some of these cells show changes which are large eosinophilic cells, which are known as Hurthal cells. Increased connective tissue is also abundantly present within the stroma as well. So morphologically on the gross appearance in cut section, I've told you, so I'm going to continue this lecture next time as we are running short of time. Okay, you can send me your question in WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not motivated.